Good day, race fans, and welcome to the Intentional Wreck Podcast. Podcast made by race fans for race fans, from the casuals to the lifelong gearheads. My name is Jeff, and I'm here with my fellow co-hosts, Corey and Finn, and you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and iHeartRadio under the name Intentional Wreck. You can also find us on Twitter under the handle @IntWreckPod. That's at INTWRECKPOD. Before we kick things off, I hate to start things on a, kind of a somber note, but it is worth acknowledging. I did want to take a moment to pass along my well wishes and condolences to Jimmy Johnson and his family for just the tragic and awful situation. I can't even imagine what he and his family must be going through right now. That just an awful situation. We don't need to break into details. You can find that information on the internet. But, as a NASCAR podcast and, just in general, we all like to think of ourselves as a family. All of us, despite how much we get at each other or, have differences of opinion of what happens on the track and stuff like that, you see something like this, and this is one of those kind of things that, we all sort of mourn together. If you guys have anything to say on the subject, I didn't want to speak for you, but I felt it necessary to at least acknowledge the topic lightly out of respect for what they must be going through right now.
Yeah, it's been a tough year for Jimmy Johnson on and off the racetrack. This is obviously a very big one. So just hope that they can kind of rally together. They've always been a strong family. They've been one of the they married very early in Jimmy's career, kind of watched their daughters grow up through the sport at the racetrack. So just hope that everybody can find a way to find some peace with each other and rally around each other. I'm sure the NASCAR community, they're all really close with each other. So
yeah,
it's really good there. But just hope that Jimmy and Legacy Motor Club can kind of grind it out through this summer. Mentally, because I know that's going to be on everybody's minds, and just trying to find a way. So really looking forward to a good redemption arc for them. We've seen it with Ty Gibbs this year, who's been able to really lock in and focus and not only change the public's perception on him, but obviously grow up behind the race car. So just hope the best for Jimmy and his family.
I don't really have much to add. Well said, both of you. I mean, it's as horrible of a story as you're really going to hear.
Yep.
And yeah, it's...
it
really kind of puts things in perspective, and
right.
I'll just leave it at that.
I'm very happy that they not only withdrew the 84, but they're not even going to race the 84 completely. Like, it's not even Jimmy stepping out, because A, you don't want to be the guy filling in for Jimmy Johnson's seat ever. But two, it's just, get away, don't even worry about racing, and I guess that's something that he can do as the head. But before we look ahead to Chicago, shall we talk about the Ally 400? Was it up there for you guys in terms of how good of racing we had?
I thought we had the single best lap that we have seen.
It was 3 laps
the entire season.
I was going to say three straight. Yeah,
that was the best sequence that we have gotten all season.
The only thing I hated,
3 guys just shooting it out.
Yeah, the only thing I hated was that it just didn't look like it just looked like off the restart they were burning their tires up trying to do that. Didn't really feel like it was the most 2-lane track. Either you were quick and had like a good setup, like Ross was late in runs. Ross was able to go anywhere he wanted. But it definitely looked like there was more of a preferred lane. But yeah, no, who was it? Willie B, Hamlin, and Truex? Was that the trio that was 3 wide the whole time?
I think so, yeah.
And I think, what I thought was cool was, they're going 3 straight laps of it. Truex backs out of it, lets them go side by side. They run each other tight, and then Truex went under and passed both of them. So, it was good. It was good craftsmanship from all of them to show what it's like to race clean on a small track, 3 wide for 3 straight laps. But also Martin showing that veteran driving skill that maybe guys like Willie B and Denny Hamlin don't have yet, as they're not champions in this sport. All right, there's my one Denny dig.
They're always good for at least one.
I'm good for
I wait for it at some point.
Trying to lighten the mood a bit. Get a Denny dig in there.
Yeah.
So, how did we feel about Ross Chastain's performance? I mean, it looked like the race was Truex, Ross's, or Denny's. That was all I really saw in terms of speed all day long. Harvick was quick up until he crashed, up until he wasn't. Willie B and Hendrick really wasn't anywhere to be found. What do you guys think? Ross Chastain?
I thought
That was
it
a great run.
Yeah.
exceptionally clean race for Ross, for sure.
Right.
And skillful. I would even go so far as to say that, because the move that's gonna get forgotten because of how good the Chastain Truex Denny moment was later on in the race when Chastain split the two lappers. I know
Right.
one of them was Almirola,
Right.
and he seriously split that middle and blew past those guys like they were standing still.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those moments where you're like, this guy's for real.
Right.
Like, he is as good right now. Well, I mean, this week obviously he was, but he's as feared as anyone in the circuit right now.
Right.
In terms of just the ability to go by people.
Good job managing his stuff through that traffic. Truex was running him down, man. Run him down. He knew he had the longer run car, and that's what I like about this sport. When it's like Truex is like, I know if I can pass him, I can stay in front of him. I just got to run him down quick enough and through the lap traffic. And Ross is like, I just got to keep going because I know my car's better on the long run. He got really, really close, and then he did complain about the dirty air. Granted, Mark Truex is known to complain about everything on the radio. That's something that he's always aggressive on the mic. But I think that's the last piece of the puzzle. I mean, it's a big piece, but it's right there because that was fun racing. It was fun to watch. And in reverse, it take us back to Dover, watching Ross chase down Truex and try to win at Dover, and getting, unfortunately, I think it was like a late caution that came out that allowed them to equalize on tires, or I can't remember exactly. No, it was Kyle Larson. It was Kyle Larson holding them up.
Yeah.
It was Kyle Larson holding them up and stuff like that. And then, so no, I thought it was a good track. Last year, Alex Bowman got wrecked out pretty early, so I definitely checked out of that race last year, because I just remember looking back going, man, I really don't know how this track races. But I knew we were in good for a weekend when we were in for a good weekend when I saw Bubba and Suarez spinning and qualifying in practice. When they're spinning out, that means we know it's tough, it's slick, and the real craftsmen, wheelmen are going to have to come out. So, I mean, that's all I got in terms of the racing. Obviously, we have the massive Blaney hit to talk about. Brutal.
Yeah, that was
rough. In regards to the race itself, I mean, there were one of the things that I thought was a lot of fun. One of the things that I think really made this exciting was there's a lot of cross up. There was a lot of just clean moves. There was a lot of clean racing that happened here, and kind of just showed how well you can. It was very much a display of the fact that you can have a compelling, entertaining, and just an all-around fun race to watch that doesn't have to include the big one. It doesn't have to include,
12 restarts.
Yeah, it doesn't have to include, 12 restarts before you get to the end.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to have, I mean, there was like throughout this race, there was a chunk here or there where, you fell into a slight lull, but it's racing. That's going to happen. Cars driving in a circle. Like, there's going to be times in which, it's going to level out a little bit. Mm-hmm. But there were multiple points during this race where you saw guys really, for one, like just generally going after it. Those 3 laps where they're 3 wide coming around that entire time and no one's giving an inch. No one's making a move. No one's, doing anything. Like, that's just so exciting. And then the move Ross makes at the end to get the win when he goes and splits the 2 cars to go and take the lead. I mean, that's just great. I don't know how else to really describe it. That was fun.
And it came down to a clutch pit stop. Just a shout out to that crew. Like, a good job at coming out of the pit stops, green flag pit stops, with even a bigger lead. And then that was the difference between them being able to hold Truex off versus having to deal with him right on your bumper. So, and Ross, what's up?
One interesting one on this race too was Kyle Busch, just going front to back like 3 times.
He had a long day.
Like, my man got a speeding penalty under caution,
right,
and had to go to the back. Got all the way back to like 7th or something.
Yeah,
It was vintage Kyle. I mean, really, like we were seeing what we saw from Kyle Busch out of this race was a lot of what we had seen from him, in years prior. Yes, he has his wins this year. He's having a great year, but the races this year that he's been bad, it's been real bad. When his car falls off, it falls off. This is one of those races where we saw some of that real like grit and that perseverance to watch him, come back, get back up to the front, go to the back, get back up to the front, and he did it with style. I mean, it was great.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to remember that that's a B-tier car. Like simply put, we sometimes forget, it's Kyle Busch. He's got 3 wins. He's a 2-time champion, but that is still a car that if it doesn't show up quick, it's only guys like Kyle Busch can put that car in the top 10, top 15 because Austin Dillon is where to be found every race.
Right.
So definitely good craftsmanship by Busch. I'm worried about Bowman, though. I'm really worried now. Since he's come back, there's been almost no speed from the 48. They're out here doing Hail Mary moves like Michael McDowell, staying out, hoping and praying for a caution to get a top 5, top 10 at this rate. So I don't know how much the injury is still affecting Alex Bowman. I haven't seen. He's fairly quiet on social media if he's not making jokes at people. But I don't think the 48 is a playoff contender right now, so that's bugging me. The one just stole another playoff seat with his first win of the year.
Yeah, I feel like stole is maybe a tough word. I think all 3 of us thought Chastain was going to get a win by the end of the season.
Right, though it has been over a calendar year since he's got one, and he's only won at what you would call, I wouldn't call gimmick track, but road courses or super speedways. He won at Talladega. So getting an oval win is actually, I think that might be the first oval win for Trackhouse. Yeah. Like non-super speedway oval win.
So
Ross's wins are Coda and Talladega last year, and then Suarez won in Sonoma. So I think that's their first intermediate. So that's really good for that program.
So let me ask you this question. How could it be in 2023 in the culture of safety that we have in sports that Ryan Blaney runs headfirst into a concrete wall with absolutely no protection on it anywhere?
Yeah.
I would get it. I would get it at super speedways. I would get it at road courses. I understand all of the reasons why that wouldn't be possible, right?
Yeah.
Or really needed. Like you don't need safer barrier on the back stretch at Daytona kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? But like in this instance, how is that possible on a 1.3 mile track? Like it's not like that would be that big of like heavy of a lift for the people that own the track, I don't think. Right?
Oh, right.
Like,
so American Capitalism and the Process of Cutting Costs, a memoir. Lock in, boys. At the end of the day, I would argue it's money, and they determined that was what we would call a low-risk spot for a contact.
Here's the thing, though. Isn't it NASCAR's call? Like, NASCAR checks these tracks out before they go race there.
I mean, I guess it's first of all, NASCAR itself is super behind. I mean, it's finally catching up, but like, yeah, not all the tracks have like the highest safety features and things are a little archaic at times. Think about like just the pit road wall. How many things, like how close are we to a situation where something just like the only thing that separates the people from the track is one little pit road wall?
Yeah.
Because we have a very, very live pit road in comparison to other motorsports, right?
Yeah.
So we already live on the edge. That definitely is a part of the track that you need to see safer barriered up. And that hit was hard, man. I would be very surprised if Ryan Blaney is racing this week. A, because he has a win. And B, because he's not a road course guy anyways.
Right.
So strong likelihood that we see somebody racing up in the 12. I'm curious as to who, because I think there's rules this weekend. I don't think you're allowed to race both races.
Probably not. I could see that.
I think there's rules against racing both races. So do you go and get a road course ringer? Do you bring somebody up from the Ford camp and then put that somebody else in the Xfinity car? Let's see.
For Ford right now, just in general, they'd be just interested in bringing anybody that can do anything right now, to be honest with you.
They should just park that car. Like, honestly.
If I'm not mistaken,
Damn.
like
I was about to say,
in
put Todd
regards,
Gilliland in the 12. Honestly, put Todd Gilliland, the best road course racer that Ford has right now. Who's the best road course racer that Ford has right now? Not Logano.
Kevin Harvick?
Harvick might have a win.
He's
Probably
he's-
Briscoe. It's if I really had to put all my money
Briscoe
in the
would have
bag.
been the first one to come to mind for me.
Oh yeah,
but-
we're not even having saying anything about that team at this point is flat out ridiculous.
Todd Gilliland. I mean, I'm just saying who's the best road courser that could theoretically, like Todd Gilliland could go to the 12, and then you move Zane Smith into the 38, which he already rides a lot. That would be sick. Actually, if I really had to put my money, Michael McDowell probably is the true best. His background is complete road course racing. I mean, it says Ryan Blaney's on the entry list, but I don't quite know who I would put in the Ford. You've got Jensen Button at Rick Ware Racing. Maybe Jensen Button to the 12. That would be fun. Give him a fun ride. I mean, we're going to get to Chicago, but yeah, dude, he was very obviously concussed after that one. And I think it'll be wild considering that he has a win. So news to look out. I mean, it's Tuesday. All of the news tends to happen 10 minutes after we finish the podcast because I'm always editing it. And then I'm like, oh my God, of course something happened here. Like when Chase Briscoe got his penalty, I was like, Jesus Christ. I gotta wait a whole week to talk about this. So, but
at least we bring it up now and we're acknowledging that as opposed to just like Finn trying to do quick edits into the pod.
Yeah.
Like it's like right in the middle, all of a sudden there's just like a little blip of silence and then Finn sounds completely different. He's like, and in other news,
I'm going to do a little thing where it's like the Snapchat filter where it's your guys' face, but I replace just the lips and the mouth. And then I'm going to redo everything. Just
There you
redo the
go.
whole section. Just
like old Night Network TV where they used to do that with, they put like a politician's face with the lips moving.
Yeah, for everything I'm just gonna, it's just gonna be just Denny Hamlin propaganda, and then for Corey, it's just like, oh, I'm a Commanders fan, and we all suck, and we're ever gonna be good.
This is what Finn actually hears.
That's all I hear anytime
talking
I
and he
edit.
mutes himself.
Jesus. It's just
it's all that.
You can't be so down and out. I'm a Lions fan. We're in the same boat, but our boys will get wins.
Have you seen what I've done to the 14 car?
If it wasn't happening also to the 10 and the 41 and the 4, I would be with you. But there's no way your influence is that vast to the entirety of Stuart Haas.
I don't buy into the whole Corey negative influence.
Almost to the entirety of the Ford camp if we really want to push it. So
Corey always talks about his negative influence on his sports teams, yet we've got 2 championships out of teams that he was watching within the last 4 years.
Very true.
Yeah.
I have seen an uptick in my
Caps got one, Nats got one.
Caps got one, and the Nats got one, and that was very, very awesome.
Commanders got one, right? When you were a kid? Or were you not born?
I was born in 1987. Their last championship was 1991.
Okay.
I guess technically January of 1992. I would have been 4 years old.
Hell yeah!
Last time they won a Super Bowl.
Go Joe Gibbs. But speaking of awesome events, I got free tickets to Darlington.
Oh,
so
nice.
I will be at the Southern 500. And here, check this out. I did some Googling, right? Because I was like, oh, man, I don't want to drive all the way to Darlington, South Carolina. And I Googled it. Darlington, South Carolina is closer to my home than Charlotte is, than Fayetteville.
Yeah, I can see that.
I didn't know that. The whole time I thought Charlotte was the closest track. I've been missing Darlington races for years because I thought the drive was too far. Martinsville, 2 hours away from where I grew up. Haven't seen a single race. What am I doing? When I was a kid, man, like all they did was print out the old MapQuest sheets.
Yes.
So directions were just like binders. And I just remember going like, man, that must be really far. But now you just do it on Siri on your phone, and it's like, a podcast away, an intentional rec podcast away.
That's
you
right.
would like to listen to those things. Jeff, you're in victory lane this week, man, right? It is you?
Yes, I am by 2 points.
Did I screw up by not taking Truex off the garage?
That was, well, I mean, I had a screw up when I had Bubba like I had Bubba on the bench and I took a flyer because I needed to add a driver that I hadn't used much. So on just a random whim, I decided to put Buescher in just to see. I'm like, somebody's going to do some weird stuff, here on Sunday. So what, why not Busher? And then I should have remembered he's driving a Ford, so he wasn't going to do anything
You
anyway.
should have
He's
remembered
pretty quick. He's been
Yeah,
if there's
I
a Ford
mean
to put
top
up.
20 if it's that, but I mean
Better than
regardless, it's
Alex
yeah.
Bowman's running around in.
All right, so for Victory Lane, one of the things that it's not even a gloat, it's not even so much. One thing that I would love to see that I think would be interesting, and I just find it weird that it hasn't happened yet. With all of the buzz surrounding the Chicago Street Course, and with all the fun that's going to happen there, and what I think should just be a generally good weekend for NASCAR, I'd love to see NASCAR maybe take a page out of the Indy book and run the Detroit Street Course. I
Mhm.
mean, I think that would be kind of fun. I think it would be, I mean, Indy runs it and it's very entertaining and it's a lot of fun. You have such direct ties to, the city of Detroit with American stock cars and just all of that in general. It just seems like it would be a home run to run something like that and to do it. Now, granted, like the Indy course that they run, yes, it's built for some more tight corners that this NASCAR is going to have some trouble, so they might have to adjust a few things. But in that same light, it just seems like a no-brainer to me to run, it just the American Muscle 400 or something like right there in the heart of
Amen,
Detroit,
brother.
and
Right.
you
Right.
run something like that, you milk all that for all it's worth. You let them get out there and run. So I guess I'm taking my victory lane here to make a plea to NASCAR. Go to the Detroit Street Course and give that a shot if Chicago is as successful as we think it's going to be.
Right. With this July 4th rotating race, right, last year was what Road America was what this date was. Then pile on
Yes.
with Chicago Street Course. Add in the fact that we don't know if where Bristol Dirt's not coming back. There's a lot of wiggle room. I've heard Montreal kind of get
That's
thrown
another one
around.
that I think would be really cool. I've
You're right.
always wondered why we don't have NASCAR Canadian races at all. I know that
Yeah.
there's a track up in Montreal, and I'm sure they could probably find a way to run something in Toronto or
Mm-hmm.
Vancouver or something like that, and just have some fun with it. I mean, hell, even if you want to just keep it in the States, Alaska has a track. Like, let's get up to the Great White North and get out there and run something.
No, totally. And I mean, all I beg is this: is if we're gonna add these road courses and do these things, just bring back a second oval race at Charlotte, please. We deserve that. It's the best track of the year. Give us like a 400 miler. Give us a 300 miler on Saturday, and we'll do the Roval on Sunday. Could just do something. But yeah, getting weird with it. I'm okay with NASCAR getting weird with it. I like the dirt. It just sucks the dirt races going away. Cause that's
Yeah,
a
I'm with
good
you.
track.
I think that, well, I mean, Jeff, if they would put the Brickyard in for one of these, sign me up.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Please.
But I mean, you guys have told me in the past about how kind of the last time they were there,
It just
really
was-
didn't work right.
No, it wasn't the last time. It was just 2008 was just super hype time for the sport. Super big, and they've got this new car that they've been rolling out, the car tomorrow, and it was too heavy for the compound, and that's what absolutely killed it for that race. And it just seemed like it just kind of was the start of NASCAR kind of losing its shine from what the late 90s and early 2000s had. So I wouldn't say it was the product necessarily went super bad. It was just a really rough couple years. But the racing prior to that, back when Jeff Gordon was one at the Brickyard, that racing was extremely fun.
Yeah.
So, but it's
Well, I've only said that the only thing that I didn't like about the Brickyard was, for one, it's the only what would have been considered a jewel at the time that Denny hadn't won, and the last time he took an opportunity at it, he blew a tire with 7 laps to go,
Right.
and I almost put my fist through a wall that day. I was hot that day. My
man, you're
God.
you're a very calm, loving individual, big bear, if you will. No
Well,
rage
for the most
involved.
part, yes. But if it comes to a reason to yell about a sport, I'll take it. That's where I let that go.
That's
Anybody
true.
that knows me, they'll say I'm
That is true.
generally just a deceivingly large but sweet man. I don't know how else to describe
my
myself.
next victory lane, I'll tell you guys a story about Jeff at a minor league baseball game.
Love to hear
Oh
it.
boy.
Love to hear it. We'll save on that one. Let's talk about Chicago, actually. I got the layout here. We'll throw it up on the screen here. So 12 turns. Turn 1 here down Columbus Drive is a 90-degree left-hander, so that's going to be real sick. It's just, it doesn't look like, from what I see, that there's a lot of runoff. We're not talking about Coda here, right? Just hard left turn, and then almost immediately followed by a right-hander. I can't say, like, Sonoma's real elevation-y, right? I don't think we're going to have that on the street course. So I'm very curious to how these turns play out. Then you got the soft right-hander 3 down into the 4 and 5. Real quick turns here. I wonder if there's going to be some passing room here on Roosevelt Road. Then you get the long, I would almost call this just the backstretch off of 5 to a 90-degree left. These roads actually are like, it's the same road, South Columbus Drive.
Right.
So it kind of looks like it's not, but it's the same road except they turn. So how good are these Ryan Blaney quality safer barriers here? Are we going to be able to, if somebody wrecks going into that, will that affect 6?
That's what I'm thinking, man. Like if someone like loses the wheel, bro, they're going straight into a wall head first.
Right.
Like there has to be such good
Now, the brakes on these things are actually part of the reason they race so frustratingly is because their brakes are really good. So I don't see the braking being too big of an issue. Down 90 degrees left into to turn 7 where you have a 90-degree right, and then we kind of have this little bus stop, if you will, or shoot. I don't know what they would call that. To was technically 8, 9, 10, then a quick right-hander out of that, and then a final right-hander back to start-finish line. As you were talking about Detroit, I wanted to pull Detroit up. The Grand Prix, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of turns that I don't know if NASCAR's ready for this, per se. Maybe something like this we could do. I don't know which one's which. Maybe one's F1. There's a lot of different pictures here, so I really don't know which one to trust. It looks like
I'm not off base with that idea, right? The concept.
If it was this one, I'd love it.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing to me that, and I think we talked about this when we kind of did our preliminary going over the season episode earlier in the year. It's the changing of the setting, I think, that is cool.
Yeah.
Because you're not often going to get to see, these cars going between buildings.
Right.
This is the first time ever.
Think about the aerial shots we're going to get from the drone, dude. It's going to be
camera shots
so
are going to be
sick.
wild.
Right.
And I think it's going to be, I'm very glad it's an NBC production.
Oh, we haven't even talked about how good that was.
Yeah, they absolutely killed it on Sunday at Nashville.
Dude, all right, just to interrupt you. Even their intro of the race going, it's just loud as shit. And it sounds like they're talking over because they were on the track when it was going off.
Yeah, they sent Junior down to the pits for the first 20 laps or so.
Which let's do two things. That brings 2 points. One, I felt like the race was there. Like we're taking off. We're there. It's loud and shit. You got Junior and Jeff Burton yelling. Not only that, how are they sitting in the pits, have a better understanding of what's happening in the race and putting on better production? We've been down in the pits while they're running around racing, or at least I have. You don't see a whole lot.
No.
So how are they able to keep track of what's going on, all this information while it's right there? That's so they did such a good job.
It was as polished of a product for sports on television as you would ever really expect to see out of any sport. And they're covering a mile wide track, not a football field or a baseball field. And they showed exactly. They shined a light on all the things that Fox has done wrong.
So
they did them so well.
What's really cool about the way NBC does road course races is they do them like radio. So and spotters. So I don't know if you've ever listened to MRN, which is the big.
I love it.
Even MRN live, they pace. They do sections of the track, right? So one person starts talking, and then another person picks up. And here they come down to turn 3, and then boom, he gets his piece, and then somebody picks up for the back stretch, and then somebody picks up for the turns. That's even at ovals. Now, road courses, we talked about it before when we were talking about Sonoma last week with the tire coming off, and how teams have various spotters all over the track. Well, NBC does the same with the way that they do their broadcast. So Junior's going to be at one part of the track. He's going to be responsible for making the calls for certain sections, and they're going to be passing it off all race long. Right. It's something that they do, and it makes road course races way more enjoyable to watch under the NBC banner. So that's going to be sick. There's some fun entry. Oh, my bad. What's up?
Have we seen a length on this course? Like, I don't even know how long it is. Like, we've seen a picture. I know the shape, but like, how long? How long is it? Like, I have no idea. And they're like, how much of really what I'm asking
2.2 miles in length.
That's a big area, man. Of a downtown, like 2 miles in a city is a long way.
Dude, they're doing
it's a loop. But
right, I get it, you know, like they're doing turns and stuff, but like that, right. Even if you're taking it over a little ways, like NBC has a huge undertaking to get all of this coverable.
Yeah,
right.
And it's I'm so glad they're doing it now.
Well, NBC also, you got to remember, NBC has been running Indy for years, you know, so they're used to like covering long circuits. They're used to, you know, setting up on these road courses and knowing those angles and kind of knowing how to capture that and pick that up. I mean, yeah, Fox has covered, you know, NASCAR running some road course races, and racing has been passed off from network to network for years, just in general. You know, I mean, let's not even get into the nightmare that it was back in the day when the track used to control the network that would broadcast. Those days were just dark in general. But outside of that, it's one of these circumstances where you have a crew and a network and a production team that is used to picking the nuance out of a situation like this and really bringing out what's supposed to shine. If I may, one of the things I wanted to bring up on the topic of NBC's coverage on this past Sunday, something that I really thought was fun and very interesting is something that's on NASCAR's website when you can view the in-car cams and stuff like that. One of the features that they use is the battle cam, which I think is great to have up like as a companion to the regular broadcast, because you get to, the whole focus is anytime you got two cars close to each other, it'll focus on that for a lap and it'll find the next two cars that are close to each other, focus on that for a lap. And it's one of the things that the director on a race broadcast is usually picking up. And I can say that one of the things I thought was very impressive that I was not catching out of the Fox broadcast this year was the fact that I would have the battle cam up on this screen and the broadcast up on this screen, and it was like they led right into each other. There was a focus regularly on picking up those back of the pack battles, middle of the pack battles, like what was it wasn't just a steady focus on the leader when somebody's 10 car lengths ahead. It was like watching the battle cam and you're like, all right, you got guys that are 3 or 4 spots back and someone's gaining and getting within 2 car lengths of somebody. And it was like NBC threw that up like, you know, a lap later. Yeah. So you'd catch it on the start and then it'd be on the broadcast. And I feel like we did not get that at all with Fox this year. We did not get this, like constant stream.
They bring it up and then it'd go to commercial.
Yeah. How many passes for the lead did we see in the first half of the year that we didn't see because they'd go to commercial?
Yeah.
Like that did not happen on Sunday.
Yeah.
And it was very polished, very, very
so that's the question.
Broadcast.
This is the big one, and this is what I want to ask you guys on, because this is what came up, you know, that brought out the keyboard warriors stuff that Mike Joy threw out on the broadcast at one point. You know, and this isn't me like knocking Joy. This is me just bringing up like that entire thing. What I brought up in that first couple of weeks of the year when we were talking about this subject was the fact that your viewers are trying to tell you that this does not feel right. People that have been watching these races for years are trying to tell you that it feels like this is being interrupted. Now, that's what I want to ask you guys. During this race on Sunday, did you get that same feeling that the race was constantly because I don't think the commercial breaks, there was probably the same amount of commercial breaks. Do you guys feel as though the race was getting interrupted in the same way it did during the Fox tenured broadcasting?
I feel like the breaks when they happened made sense. They went to double box when it made sense. they went to a full commercial when it made sense. Like 25 laps into the race, they went to commercial. Like, sure, okay, they're all single filed out. Now go to commercial. We're not really going to miss anything. And we didn't, right? Now, anything can happen, right? Anytime they cut to a full screen commercial, a wreck can happen at any time. Tires blow up. You know what I mean? They can't plan on those sorts of things. But it was definitely one of those things where as a newer fan, like I noticed the difference last year, but like now this year I'm able to really like pick it apart.
Yeah.
And I mean, for those of you who don't know, Jeff, like we have a little bit of background in this stuff, event production and video and audio. It's kind of what we do for a living. So we have a little bit of a kind of idea of what goes into producing something like this at a technical level. And it was just palpable, the difference in how it felt. Like Finn, you made the point of the very, very first, like the beginning of the race. It felt like you were at the race. It was the first time all year for even just a moment watching on TV where it was like, wow, I can like really feel this. Even when Fox does crank it up and whatever, it just had a sensation about it that was very different.
Right.
And how they're doing that, I don't know, but it's very different.
Real genuine enthusiasm versus Clint trying to make a joke. That's how it felt. But I'm excited to see how they do the street race. I mentioned before, we got some fun entries. Jenson Button is coming back. Jenson Button has expressed a real interest in doing NASCAR, including ovals. Jordan Taylor, the guy that filled in for the 9 at COTA, he is actually going to be doing a deal where he's going to be doing some ovals next year. And he's the road course instructor for Hendrick, so he should be in a Hendrick-backed car for sure. We're going to see the NASCAR debut for Project 91. That's Trackhouse's third ride. That's Shane Van Gisbergen. He's a Australian V8 supercar driver. The last big V8 supercar driver to come to NASCAR, Marcus Ambrose, was disgustingly talented. So it's going to be very interesting to see. They had some pictures on Reddit earlier of his testing and stuff like that. But he is a very talented guy. If he can get into some good qualifying, some good space, I'm curious to see what he does. I'm curious to see what he would do at a place like COTA. Obviously, we mentioned Jimmy Johnson already. One of the races he was slotted to do this year, they will not be racing. But I think Joe Graff Jr. is actually doing the Xfinity race. Isn't he an IndyCar guy?
Name's ringing a bell.
That's Jeff's wheelhouse. Yeah.
Who's Joe Graff Jr.? I'm pretty sure Joe Graff is. Nope, never mind. He's full time in the Xfinity car. So maybe I saw that he was racing. I know he does quite a bit. So I can't remember exactly the
He's
big
a JGR
names.
guy.
Yeah. Just looking through, maybe it's Joey Gase. I'm trying to remember all the names of all the guys.
You're looking at the Xfinity entry.
Yeah. I've already seen.
There's another one. Justin Marks is running.
Oh, Justin Marks.
Justin Marks is driving the Xfinity race so that Trackhouse can get some info and he can pass it on to Ross and Suarez because they can't drive. I did hear that somewhere.
So, and keep in mind, Justin Marks actually has an Xfinity Series win in the I don't know if it was Xfinity Series or if he was in truck. No, it was Xfinity Series. He's in the pouring rain, and he was like 2 seconds faster than everybody. It was like mid-Ohio and the pouring rain, and he absolutely smoked the field for his win. So he's no joke in terms of road course racing. So I would expect if he can qualify well. Alex Lab, he's a part of the he's not racing for DGM, but he was the guy whose pit box I sat on at Bristol. I know that he's a really solid road course racer. So yeah, it looks like maybe I was wrong about Joe Graff Jr. being an IndyCar. I can't remember where I saw that maybe an IndyCar driver was coming to race, but either way, should be a fun weekend nonetheless on that. And so,
I'm super pumped for this race, man.
You bringing up the pouring rain, that was something I was thinking about. Like, what was the lowest ticket price? I think for somebody to get in at this race was like $500 or $600 or something like that. Like it was like something just super high.
Yeah, I think.
How would you feel if you spent that money on that downtown race to get that prime spot somewhere in the middle of downtown Chicago for this race, and it just downpours?
Well, at least they can race in that.
Yeah, they're gonna run in the rain. Yeah.
Oh, they'll run it. But
Yeah.
if you're the person that is spending probably like
No, I think
600's the minimum,
I
you're
think it was
spending over
300
1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're spending over 1,000 easily to get anywhere of a prime view. Hey,
Yeah.
just imagine you're dropping, you're dropping 4 digits to go to this one race, and you have to be out there in that downpour while it's going. Like, I know I'd be heated, that's for sure.
I wouldn't mind the downpour rain. I just don't think it's a good idea to go to a race where you can only see 2-3 turns. I'm gonna be honest with you. I watched a lot of people go to F1 races. That shit looks boring.
Yeah.
Never would I ever go to a race just to watch 3 turns. I went to a golf tournament, like a PGA Tour event at the Sony Open in Hawaii, and we like spent a little bit of time at like one of the holes. That was boring. Everybody, after a while, all their tee offs looked the same. But following somebody,
Yeah, you got to follow
sing-
somebody when you go to a golf
and
tournament.
sing all the various things that they had to deal with. Yeah, no, they should just I don't know what to do, but like just racing is way better watched in person at road course races in general. So,
I just pulled it up, by the way. You can get into the Chicago Street Race Cup race for $190 on the secondary market right now.
That has to have changed, because I want to say it was like, it
Those
was like
ticket prices
insanely
went
high. Yeah.
No, when they first went up for sale, I'm pretty sure the lowest costing ticket was $295. That number sticks out in my head for some reason.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure it was $295 just to get into the race.
That's bananas.
Wild.
That's bananas.
I'm psyched, man. It's gonna be awesome.
Then who do you think's gonna win? Should the man who just called
Martin Truex Jr. is going
on the road course? All right. Well, he did just
Interesting.
dominate Sonoma.
He just won at Sonoma. His car is stupid fast right now. I don't know what he's doing, but if he doesn't win in Chicago, I will be surprised.
I'll tell you what. This isn't a situation of, he turned it up. This is just Martin Truex Jr. that you didn't get to see last year. This is why we were so dumbfounded as why he didn't have a win last year. Because this is what Martin Truex Jr. is. The 19 car, annoyingly the best Toyota across the board.
Happy to pick first because I'm so dead set that Truex is winning this weekend that I will be shocked if anyone else wins.
Yep. Who do you got there, Jeff?
Picking from everybody else.
So I would take a different tact on that, simply because I don't know. Like, I don't know if there's going to be any usual suspect that's going to win this thing, to be honest. I think it's going to be pure chaos, at least for a good while. And I think we're going to see some big names possibly either out early due to spin outs, colossal wrecks and bottlenecks and things like that. I don't know. I don't think there's going to be, I don't think it's going to be a usual suspect that goes and takes this win. So at this point, like, I can kind of close my eyes and throw at the dartboard as far as I'm concerned and see who possibly takes it. So if I'm going to do that, like, let's go with Dinger. Like, I mean, so I'm trying to take somebody that I know can run on the road. And what I'm thinking about is surviving, right? As opposed to the premise of, like, who's going to be exactly the fastest, who's necessarily going to have the best long run, who's going to do this and that. I'm trying to think of somebody who has enough road course prowess to survive and also find a way to get there. Because I think there's going to be a lot of survive in advance that's going to happen during this race.
I'm in the same lane as you, where I think chaos will occur. I think that these races, it's always going to end up being somebody that's not a road course racer that wins it. So I'm going to go with the guy who won Bristol Dirt the first time we went to Bristol Dirt, because he's not a dirt racer and he won it and it was annoying. We're going to go with Joey Logano. Just going to go with Joey Logano. Joey's the kind of guy that just wins in situation. First time that we went to the, where do we do the new Clash? The Clash of the Coliseum?
Yeah.
Didn't Joey Logano win? Bristol Dirt, Joey Logano wins. They find a way to make, Ford's already behind in setup, but when nobody has an advantage in setup, maybe they can make it work. So I'm going to go with the 22.
That's a fair point about the Fords that I hadn't really considered, but my God, they have all been terrible.
Right.
So
maybe they've been running road. Maybe what they've been doing is they've been running Chicago street course setups on all of the ovals to try to prep. You know, when you load in the iRacing and you accidentally had the wrong setup in the top right, and you have to go, oh shit, I've been running the Martinsville at Chicagoland. No wonder I suck.
Yeah.
So let's call it that. Let's go in and see if these Fords can get a win for you.
Yeah, I don't. Again, I think this is very much of a anybody's type of situation here, and who's gonna to get up there. So even a Ford stands a chance to possibly get a win on this one. So I mean, why not? I was watching the iRacing put out a video on the actual course itself earlier, and it was really interesting to kind of get that first person view of what the turns were going to look like, and kind of getting the view of what those 90 degrees are going to be for a lot of these guys. And you're catching a lot of, you're getting up, cycling through your first like 3 gears or so, getting up to a reasonable speed, and then it's cutting. So another thing to take into account is shifting is going to come into play at this race, and whoever can really master maintaining the proper shifting to get around there is really going to be at an advantage, as long as they could steer clear of spin outs, chaos, and everything else. So
100%.
Just something to acknowledge.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. But I think we had a fairly shorter episode.
What time is the race? It's a night
5
race.
p.m. Eastern time.
5 p.m. Eastern.
Oh, the lights of the city.
Those
shots are going to be nasty.
Downtown city lights under the drone.
Yep, it's going to be sick. I'm super, super pumped for this race, for sure.
Yeah. It's not often you get Corey excited for a road course, so take it in.
In fact, you know what though? I know I'm not the road course guy. Coda was awesome.
Yeah.
Coda is awesome. Sonoma is terrible. So
Roval's going to be good.
This is more like Coda.
Indy is going to be fun, so it'll all be fun.
Yeah. So, shorter episode this week, but I think that's going to pretty much do it for us. Please make sure you check us out on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio under the name Intentional Rec. Like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends. Find us on Twitter at IntRecPod. That's at INTWRECKPOD. Find us, follow us, and chat with us. I promise I will keep to my promise from earlier that we will do better about putting our episodes up on Twitter, as we have fallen into a little bit of a lull with the gap, but we will get better. But make sure you reach out, and everybody enjoy the race on Sunday. Peace.
Give me